Welcome to the Employco HR Podcast. I'm Rob Wilson. With me is my brother and partner, Scott.
Hello.
And Jason Eisenhut,
Hi, everyone.
Vice President of HR. And Jackson working the board.
Dad of a 5-month-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the king of the social committee, working the March Madness brackets in the office.
Yeah, I'm not doing well.
Depending on when this podcast comes out, we're in the midst of March Madness. Interesting statistic that the first 2 days of the tournament, they project the lost productivity or revenue to businesses in the United States at $12 billion.
Awesome. Wow.
And we've worked with clients over the years of like, it's happening. People are going to be on their computers, on their phones, checking the scores, looking at the brackets, talking about it. So like what we do here at Employco is Jackson's got a couple of big screen TVs in our meeting area, and it's all decorated out. So people, why be shy about it? People are going to watch it.
Yep.
So,
Been doing that for about team building, morale.
Right. Yeah.
It was fun.
And we'll talk about AI in a little bit, but my bracket,
Courtesy of
I'm the old school. I was with a couple guys, and they're like, everyone looks at statistics now. No one goes through the list and just picks their favorite teams. Like, well, I did, but I also made one with ChatGPT and sat down with it and said, all right, here's what I'm looking for, and I want you to look at second quarter, second half stats, who's great on defense, who comes back or whatever. And in the pool, it's currently in first place.
wow.
So we'll see. Yeah, I am in second place.
I am low 25th place out of
So Chad's in first, and I'm in second, but I'm tied with a bunch of people in second place.
Yeah. Ashton's in
Ashton's,
third.
yeah. Ashton's right there too. So, but anyways, that's my AI comment for the moment. We'll see if, not that I can win anything on the pool, but
Yeah, that's cool.
ChatGPT might get a pizza out of it or something.
Right.
So, Jackson, thank you for the social committee, you and your team putting stuff together. So back to the topic this month, we thought, let's talk about learning and development. Big trends for 2026, as slowing as you saw the last couple months, hiring has been slowing. So what are the developments and trends that we're seeing on the learning side?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of these with not every single one. We're going to talk about 4 trends of learning development in 2026. Some of them we've seen with all of our clients. So any of the clients we're talking to, they've at least kind of seen or experienced one of these trends. The first one we'll talk about is the rise of upskilling. We're in a slower hiring period. People aren't leaving their jobs as frequently, and employers aren't posting jobs and hiring as much as they were a few years ago. So with this kind of slowdown in the hiring, and it's more difficult to find employees, not so much on pay, but on the skill level. What employers are finding that if I post a job, if I'm looking on LinkedIn, if I'm looking for people, I'm just not finding people with the right skills.
Yeah, and they, on a recent survey, 36%, so a third of companies say that they have open positions that they can't fill, and it's not from a pay standpoint, it's from a skill standpoint.
Yeah, and 50% of the employers say the applicants lack the relevant experience from last year. So we're always going to find like, okay, I'm offering for this position for this pay rate, and the person's looking for more. But right now, the bigger issue, the more concerning one, is the skill, where the employers are just not able to find the right applicants and candidates with the skills they're looking for. So one of the things that a lot of employers are doing is upskilling. So if you're not familiar with that term, upskilling means you take your existing employees and train them for a different responsibility or role within the organization to potentially get them ready for a lateral move or promotion, things like that, or to backfill someone else.
I would think that's a huge upside. They fit the culture, they understand the culture. I mean, it makes complete sense.
And something that we always look at it, when you talk about succession planning, most people think, okay, succession planning, is it the owner, is it CEO, whoever? But no, I think you should look at every position in your organization, and if that person's going to upskill and grow, who's going to fill that position? So you should constantly be training and upskilling everyone in your team.
Yeah, and one of the things employers and managers do is to ask people, are you interested in this? So some people are, and we'll get to this in a second, are very content. They just want to be doers. They don't want to move. That's fine, but maybe then we move on to the second person. And I would love to learn that. I would love to backfill and cross-train and be someone else. So the managers can kind of personalize some of this depending on their department. So managers are more frequently having these one-on-one discussions with their employees to figure out, are the employees interested in learning new responsibilities, new tasks, new skills, and potentially backfilling or cross-training with another department. What's interesting, so I found a SHRM survey from just in the last few weeks that showed that 78% of employers offered upskilling or learning development opportunities for their employees in 2025. So almost 80% of employers are offering these educational learning development opportunities for their employees last year. And that's up from 72% in 2022. So more and more employers are offering upskilling, learning development opportunities for their employees. But when you look at the median amount of hours an employee spends on learning and development, an entire year in 2025 was 8 hours. So out of all the employees, 80% of employers offer it, and when you look at the median amount of hours, 8 hours, an average employee spends 8 hours on learning something new within their kind of job-related knowledge.
Which kind of goes with what within our organization, we have a learning budget. So each person has X amount of dollars that they can use, and we even let them roll it over for a year for continuing education. So some in case it might be their insurance license or their seminar or their accounting, and we're always surprised by the amount of people that don't use it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, and I think one thing that we're finding is beneficial is when managers have these conversations with the employees, reminding them about this, exploring opportunities. Are you interested? Is this something you're interested in within our department or a different department? And that way it'll help with future recruiting if you have an upskilled employee ready to go.
Right. Absolutely. So number 2, reimagine career advancement.
Yeah. So conscious unbossing. So this is a term I think was developed a couple of years ago. It's starting to gain more traction.
Sounds like something Gwyneth Paltrow would say. I don't know. And Chris Martin.
Yeah.
Got this from the Coldplay concert. So
conscious, and no one's ducking in the rafters hiding. But
unbossing.
So conscious unbossing is when, and it's typically the younger generations like Gen Z, when an employee wants to learn new responsibilities, take on new activities, but they don't want that traditional advancement within to becoming a supervisor manager. So the unconscious bossing says, I don't want to be a middle manager. I don't want that stress. Maybe I've seen that in my parents' life. They come home stressed from one of my direct reports. This is frustrating. Now I have to work on this. They want the advancement, but maybe it's just advancement in knowledge rather than a job title change. So what managers can do to help this kind of unconscious unbossing is to talk to their employees and find out, are you interested in learning new parts? Are you interested in this part of the organization, this part of the role? And then kind of go at it together to kind of develop their lateral career path together rather than this traditional hierarchy of, okay, you got to move on to director, supervisor, and things like that.
It's really interesting, too, on the Gen Z, on the surveys that you see that a big percent of them say, I don't want to manage because it's too high a stress with a low reward. And I want better work-life balance. And
yeah, and like I think some of the younger, and maybe it's just because they're younger, and maybe when they reach their 40s or 50s, that might change. But as of right now, this is it's a kind of stereotype. A lot of the Gen Z says, I don't want to manage. I don't want to be a middle manager. And I'd rather be lateral or add new responsibilities.
Right. So number 3.
Yeah, modern mentorship opportunities. So again, historically, we think of mentorship as, okay, the organization or department or manager assigns a mentor or buddy to kind of coach and be there for the employee, even if it's an existing employee. But now we're looking at different types. So maybe it's cross-functional mentorship, where someone outside the department is that person's mentor and coach them on different parts of the organization and expands their networking. We're also looking at reverse mentoring. So a young person. So I'm almost 50, a few weeks. If I'm 50 years old and I take on a younger employee and to be my reverse mentor, I can learn things like WhatsApp or different ways to post jobs on TikTok and like that. I've never posted a job on TikTok. So do younger people even look at that for job ads? So there's good ways to kind of share that knowledge both directions.
Right. So having a younger person mentor an older person.
Exactly right.
Usually it's the other way around, but in today's marketplace, you could learn so much more.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's also peer mentoring and group mentoring, basically different ways of having an existing employee or a new hire talk to someone else within the organization to gain knowledge and build their network. And then the last one, the fourth one we're seeing is necessity of AI literacy. So this isn't so much programming. I'm going to be a programmer and build the AI and the databases. This is how does AI affect my role? What is the organization doing within AI? How can I use AI within my role? Can I play around with it? Some organizations are building sandboxes where the employees can play around and like use AI within their role. Or other organizations are just kind of providing education to them. Like how are we as a company using AI within our company, even if it's outside your department? And then what are some tools and equipment you could use to improve your role?
We were just talking about AI in your handbooks of most companies haven't addressed AI yet in a company handbook of how to interact, what you can use and not use. But AI, it's in changing every industry.
Yeah, and obviously one of the things that all organizations are doing with AI is to make sure if employees are putting things in there, is it confidential? Because it's data security kind of information,
Right.
And then is it accurate coming out? Like, so you just need to have someone proof it, do a reasonableness check, and things like that.
Yeah, we just had a question the other day from a client. This came in yesterday, where they said, "What if an employee took somewhat sensitive data within the organization and uploaded it into Chat or Perplexity, whoever, and said, can you analyze this and give me some, whatever the person was looking for?" But now that it wasn't in a sandbox, it was in
the live
AI.
Wow.
What's the repercussions to the organization? And on the flip side as well, is that covered under your cyber insurance coverage?
Wow. That's interesting.
Because it's think of it as almost like a data breach, but it was a voluntary data breach. So it's probably not insurance covered for it. We were going to look into the policy forms and see, depending on what they had. But that's a big exposure today.
Yeah. Yeah. And some things you can maybe de-identify, but even if you're putting I'm not going to list the client name or customer name, but I'm just going to put sales by month. That's still confidential information that if it gets in the wrong hands and a competitor's
or salary information.
Yeah.
Where, it has all your employees with their names and salary, and if you're disclosing a fair amount of information. So something that if you don't have an AI issue in your handbook, something you should look at.
Definitely look into it. Yeah.
So, but if you're not in front of AI or looking at it for your business, you need to.
Yeah. So those are the 4 trends we're seeing in learning and development this year. We have a nice PDF summary of this, so feel free to email us at hr@employco.com. I'm happy to send this out as a kind of a nice recap in written form.
Yeah, it's a great summary, Jason, that you've created. So 30 years ago, we started the business. We weren't doing podcasts back then.
Yeah, no gray hair.
Though Scott might have been doing the 3 Wine Guys.
No, that didn't start until 2005.
Wow.
That was when podcasting was young.
April of 96.
April 16th, 1996, we started Employco. So $5,000 in sales our first year. So come a long way.
A long way.
So, but it's been fun. So we've built up a great organization. Love helping clients with their HR issues, and looking forward to the next 30.
Yeah.
Jackson will be, who knows, 30 years, he'll probably be a grandfather. So thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info or hr@employco.com. HR@Employco goes right to Jason.
Goes to Jason, yep.
Info probably goes to Scott and Jackson.
Yeah.
So, but if you have any comments, questions,
suggestions,
or need some HR assistance, feel free to reach out to us, and happy to help you.
Yeah, and good luck on your brackets.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks.
So thanks for joining us.